Elias Core was a man who preferred the company of his horse and his dog to other people. He lived on Iron Sky, a harsh, barren planet on the edge of human space. The landscape was vast and empty, with only the wind and the occasional howl of wild creatures to break the silence. Elias had chosen this life, far from the hustle and bustle of civilization. Here he could live at his own pace, tend to his cattle, and spend long days under the sun with nothing but the endless horizon to keep him company. It was a simple life, but it was his life. He had always been a loner, someone who didn't feel the need for human connection. There were no close friends, no family, just his small homestead and the endless open land around him. Most people would have called it a lonely existence, but for Elias it was freedom. Every morning, he would wake up early, saddle his mechanical horse, an old model but still reliable, and head out into the fields. His dog, Rusty, a loyal mutt with a sharp bark, always followed closely behind. The two of them had seen the worst of the frontier together, and in Elias's eyes, they made the perfect team. As the sun began to set one evening, casting long shadows across the dry plains, Elias was sitting on his porch sipping from a mug of coffee. He'd had a long day, repairing fences, rounding up a few strays, and dealing with some bandits who had tried to steal his cattle. It was the usual routine, the kind of work that never seemed to end. He had just settled into his chair, ready to enjoy a quiet evening, when he heard something unusual. A voice at first. He thought it was a trick of the wind, but the voice grew clearer, and Elias sat up straight in his chair. A woman's voice calling out to him from the direction of his barn. "I'm your wife," she said, loud and confident. Elias froze. His hand tightened around the mug in his grasp, and his heart skipped a beat. He looked around, confused, and scanned the horizon. There was no one in sight. He stood up, his eyes narrowing, and peered into the distance. The wind had kicked up again, but no one was there. He rubbed his eyes, wondering if he had heard right. He didn't have a wife. He'd never been married, never even considered the idea of it. He had a simple life, and he liked it that way. He had no need for complicated relationships or commitments. And yet the voice persisted. "I'm your wife," she repeated, this time closer. Elias's heart raced as he turned toward the barn. There, standing in the fading light, was a woman. She was tall, her dark hair pulled back into a messy ponytail, and she wore a weathered flight suit covered in dirt and dust. She looked like she had been traveling for days, and there was a certain weariness about her, but her eyes were sharp and determined. She didn't seem like someone who had been lost or wandering. She seemed like someone who knew exactly what she was doing. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. He had never seen this woman before in his life. "You're mistaken," he said slowly, his voice steady but unsure. "I don't know you. I've never seen you before." The woman didn't flinch. She took a step forward, and Elias noticed the strange device on her wrist, something that didn't look like it belonged in the wilds of Iron Sky. It looked too advanced, too clean. "You're Elias Core, right?" she asked, her voice calm but insistent. Elias nodded warily. "That's me, but I don't know who you are." She smiled faintly. "I'm Dr. Mara Quinn," she said, "and I'm your wife." Her words didn't make sense to him. His mind raced, trying to understand what was happening. Could she be some sort of spy, a trickster sent by one of the gangs he'd crossed paths with in the past? But her voice was sincere, and there was no malice in her eyes. "You've been gone for a long time, Elias," she continued, her voice softer now. "You don't remember because it was erased, but we were married. We were part of something important." Elias's mind raced, trying to process what she was saying. He'd heard stories of people with lost memories, but he had always thought they were just stories. Nothing more than fiction to entertain settlers on the frontier. But here she was, standing right in front of him, claiming that they were married. "I don't remember any of that," Elias said, his voice firm. "There's no way you're my wife. I don't even know you." Mara's expression didn't change. "You will," she said. "Eventually your memories will come back. But right now there are things you need to know." Elias shook his head. "I'm not interested in whatever you're selling. I don't have time for this. I've got work to do." Mara stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his. "You think you're just a rancher, don't you?" she said, almost as if reading his mind. "But you're not. You were part of a mission that could change the fate of the galaxy. And I was with you every step of the way." The words hung in the air between them. Elias couldn't understand. He had lived on Iron Sky for years, never once thinking that he had any connection to anything beyond the planet. "Look, I don't know what you're talking about," he said, shaking his head. "I'm just a cowboy. I mind my own business. I don't need to be dragged into any galactic conspiracies." Mara didn't back down. "You don't understand," she said quietly. "They've erased your memories to protect you. There are people who are looking for you, Elias. They're dangerous. And the only way to stop them is for you to remember who you truly are." For a moment, Elias was silent, staring at the woman who claimed to be his wife. There was a part of him that wanted to believe her, but another part that refused to accept it. His entire life had been simple, too simple for all of this. He didn't want to be part of some big mystery, some dangerous mission. But the look in Mara's eyes told him that this was far from a simple story. She wasn't lying. He could feel it in his bones. There was something about her, something that made him question everything he had known about himself. He took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "If what you say is true, then why now? Why after all this time?" Mara looked out toward the horizon as if searching for something in the distance. "Because they're coming for you, Elias. They always have been. And I won't let them get you again." Elias wasn't sure if he could trust her, but one thing was certain. His life was about to change, and whatever lay ahead, he wasn't going to face it alone. This expanded version of Part 1 includes more of the dialogue and interaction between Elias and Mara, adding depth to their mysterious encounter. It builds up the tension and intrigue, leading the reader into the unfolding mystery. The story also sets up the stakes for the next part of the adventure, as Elias begins to question his own identity and the strange woman who claims to know him. Elias stood in stunned silence, trying to make sense of everything Mara had said. His mind was racing, struggling to keep up with the flood of information. A rancher, a wife, a galactic mission. The words felt strange, like pieces of a puzzle that didn't quite fit together. He had lived his entire life on Iron Sky, a desolate planet at the edge of known space. His days were spent working the land, tending to cattle, and keeping to himself. There was no mention of galactic missions, no secret identity. It was all so overwhelming. Mara, sensing his confusion, took a step closer, her voice gentle but firm. "I know this is a lot to take in, Elias, but I'm not lying to you. You have to trust me." Elias looked at her, his brow furrowed. "How can I trust you? I don't even know who you are. You say you're my wife, but I have no memory of you. And now you're telling me I'm some kind of protector of the galaxy?" Mara nodded. "Yes, it's complicated, but it's true. You were part of a mission that started years ago. We were working together to find something powerful. A device, an artifact that could change the future of everything." "An artifact?" Elias repeated, his voice tinged with disbelief. "What kind of artifact?" Mara hesitated for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. "It's a device capable of manipulating time and space. It was lost years ago and we were sent to find it. We thought we could keep it hidden, keep it safe. But something went wrong. Someone betrayed us. They erased your memories to protect you." Elias's mind swirled. Time and space? An artifact? Betrayal? It sounded like something out of one of the old stories he used to hear from settlers on other planets. But it didn't feel like a story. Mara's eyes were filled with urgency, and there was a deep sorrow in her gaze. She wasn't making this up. He ran a hand through his hair. "Why didn't I remember any of this? If we were together, if we were part of something important, why am I just hearing about it now?" Mara sighed deeply. "Because your memories were wiped, Elias. It was the only way to protect you. We were trying to find that artifact, and someone we trusted betrayed us. They didn't want us to succeed, and they didn't want you to remember who you were. But now they've found us again." Elias shook his head. "This is crazy. I've been living here for years, alone. No one has come after me. Why now?" Mara stepped forward, her expression serious. "Because they've been looking for you. And the artifact. The longer they stay hidden, the more dangerous they become. They know you're alive, Elias, and they know you were part of the mission. That's why they've sent people to find you." A chill ran through Elias. The idea that someone or something was hunting him didn't sit well with him. He had lived in peace for so long, it was hard to imagine anything threatening his life. But Mara's warning sounded too real to ignore. "Who are these people?" Elias asked. "And why should I care about some artifact?" Mara looked away, her eyes distant. "They're called the Collective. They are a powerful organization, bent on controlling the galaxy. They've been after this artifact for years. If they get it, they'll have the power to reshape everything. The future, the past, even reality itself. That's why you were part of the mission. You were the key to stopping them. Elias felt a knot form in his stomach. He had never wanted anything to do with power, especially not power that could change the universe. His life had always been about simplicity, working the land, keeping to himself, and staying out of trouble. But now it seemed trouble had found him. "I'm just a rancher," he muttered. "I don't know anything about stopping organizations or saving the galaxy. I don't even remember any of this." "Why me?" Mara's eyes softened. "Because of who you are. You were altered, Elias. They modified your body, your mind. You have abilities that you don't even realize. Your memories were erased to keep you from using them. But now that you remember, we need to find the artifact and stop the collective from getting it." Elias was silent for a long time. His life had been turned upside down in a matter of hours. He had gone from a simple cowboy to someone caught in a galactic war he didn't even know existed. It felt like too much to handle, too much to believe. But there was something in Mara's words and the way she spoke, the way she looked at him, that made him think she wasn't lying. He didn't know how, but he knew she was telling the truth. Deep down, Elias felt that his life was part of something bigger than he could have ever imagined. "Okay," he said finally, his voice low but steady. "I'll help you, but I don't know where to start. How do we find this artifact? And how do we stop the collective?" Mara's face brightened with a hint of relief. "We start by finding the old mission logs. I've been tracking their movements, and I have a lead on where they might have hidden it. But it's going to be dangerous, Elias. The collective won't give up easily." Elias nodded grimly. "I can handle danger." For the next few days, Mara and Elias worked together, preparing for the journey ahead. Mara shared what little she knew about the artifact, and Elias did his best to recall any details that might help. The more they talked, the more his memories started to come back in flashes, images of a life he couldn't fully grasp, of a mission he had forgotten, and of a bond with Mara that he could feel but not fully remember. It wasn't long before Elias realized that the woman standing beside him wasn't just someone from his past. She was his partner, his ally, someone who had been with him through thick and thin. They had faced dangers together, and now they were facing them again. As they made their preparations, the quiet of Iron Sky seemed to grow even more oppressive. Elias couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that the dangers Mara had warned him about were closer than he thought. Every sound, every shadow felt like a potential threat. The day finally came when they had everything packed and ready. Elias and Mara set off on the long journey to find the artifact, traveling by night to avoid detection. They moved quickly, always staying off the main paths, using the rugged terrain to their advantage. But as they neared their destination, something felt wrong. The air was heavy and the silence felt thicker than usual. Elias could sense it. They were not alone. Someone was out there watching them. It wasn't just a feeling. It was real. "We need to hurry," Mara said, her voice tight with urgency. "They're getting closer." Elias felt his pulse quicken. How close? "They're already here." Suddenly, the sound of engines broke the silence. Mara's head snapped around, her eyes wide with fear. "They've found us," she whispered. And in that moment, Elias realized that everything had changed. The quiet life he had known on Iron Sky was over. He wasn't just a rancher anymore. He was part of something much bigger, and the danger was only just beginning.